We're talking NFL for the next 8 weeks every Friday right now on the Arlads Football Network. Thanks for tuning in. It is the last Friday of the month of May. We're already getting into June. And what that means is we're only a month away from training camp. So even though it's about 6 weeks, 7 weeks, but still, we're doing everything we can to get there as fast as possible. OTAs happening right now, mini camps all across the land. Lots going on. We're going to be previewing 8 straight NFL divisions every Friday, 4 Eastern, right here on the Arlads Football Network. And we're going to be partnering here on these next 8 Fridays with ProLine TV. And we have 2 handicappers, professional handicappers from the Las Vegas area who have been handicapping the NFL for quite a long time. Andy Iskoe and Jim Feist. And first, I'm going to introduce Andy Iskoe. We'll go in alphabetical order, starting with the A first. And Andy, thanks for doing this. Tell us a little bit about the Logical Approach, which is the business that you work on a daily basis, and it's quite a unique business at that.
Yeah, it's something that I've worked on really since about the mid 1980s. I've just about a little over 40 years doing this professionally. The last 35, this is actually year number 36 for me in Las Vegas, which makes me still a short-termer compared to Jim, who's been here considerably longer. But and I love it out here. I've loved it out here for many years, and I do handicapping and wagering on the major sports generally, which would be the 4 major ones in North America: the NHL, the NBA, the college basketball as part of. And well,
you're from the Northeast, Andy?
Yeah, I'm from the Northeast. I'm going to get to that in a moment. The pro and college football, pro and college basketball, hockey, and Major League Baseball. Yeah, I grew up in New York. I was a fan of all the New York teams. I happen to be old enough to have lived through in my teenage years when New York sports was relevant. You had during, I think it was about a 16-month period where the Jets won the Super Bowl over Baltimore. The Mets won the World Series also over Baltimore. And the New York Knicks won the NBA title over the LA Lakers, but I believe defeated the Baltimore Bullets in the playoffs along the way. So it developed a little bit of a rivalry. And then for the next 4 decades, both the Mets and the Baltimore teams were not all that successful, with the possible exception, I guess you could say, over the time of the Ravens, who were not in Baltimore until the Cleveland Browns moved away in the mid-1990s. So that's my background there. And I've been doing it here in Las Vegas, as I mentioned, for, 30. This will be my 36th year here. I do contest proxying for the major football contests that are here each year. And so that keeps me sharp, keeps me involved, keeps me also a little bit, I don't pay close attention to all what my clients do, but I get an idea of how somewhat sophisticated but not necessarily professional bettors are betting. In other words, not the general public, but the informed part of the public that are not professionals.
What's the most popular contest that maybe viewers may know
right
about?
Now, it's the one that generated, I would imagine that of the new listeners and viewers that we have who follow the NFL and maybe even college football, which they probably do from our lads to a great extent, but certainly those who follow the NFL, the Circa Survivor Contest, which is it's like a last man standing, King of the Hill elimination contest that Circa introduced. Circa's been around, I believe, 2019 was the first year that the hotel opened, and or at least that they started offering their contest. Derek Stevens, the owner of Circa, has a couple of other properties that pre-existed the completion of the Circa property as far as the building goes. They offered, the first contest they offered was a pick 5 contest, which was very much along the lines of the one that most people are familiar with, the Westgate Super Contest. You make 5 picks against the point spread each week. You do it each week of the season. Survivor was introduced the following year as a second contest, and that was, as I mentioned, like a King of the Hill, last man standing. You pick one team a week in the NFL. There were initially you just did it for the regular season. They added a couple of twists after that. But basically, if you pick 1, you advance to the next week. If your pick tied or lost, that entry was eliminated, and whoever was left at the end of the season, or if the contest ended before the end of the season because everybody was eliminated, but anyone who was active in the week that the contest either ended, meaning they were perfect, or everyone who was eliminated final week split whatever the pot was, the 100% of the pot. I think the first year it was a couple of $1 million. They actually guaranteed that prize fund as they did for the other contest as well. Last year, the guarantee was $15 million. They needed 15,000 entries. They surpassed that by a considerable amount, probably about 20%. They had 18,000 entries for a total purse of $18 million. I think they got split up 6 ways, if I recall. This year, they've upped the guarantee to $20 million for that contest. $6 million for the other contest, and a $4 million guarantee for a contest. I'll tell you the entry fee for the Circa Survivor is $1,000. You're allowed 10 entries. The Grandissimo, which is an offshoot of the Survivor contest, has a $100,000 entry fee. They guaranteed $4 million this year. They actually guaranteed, I think, $1.5 million last year, and they had, I think, 60-something entries, if I recall correctly. So they exceeded that. They'll probably do that this year. Overall, Circa is guaranteeing amongst the 3 contests, the Millions, the Survivor, and the Grandissimo, $30 million in prize funds coming out.
Sweet.
That's the one. And I'll just mention to people, because I did mention proxying, you have to be in Las Vegas to enter the contest or have someone on your behalf, whether it be someone who lives here or a family member or a friend who travels here. And then if you're not able to submit your selections each week within the state of Nevada, which are the Gaming Commission requirements, you appoint a proxy, generally someone who lives here or who visits every weekend in the season, which could be Southern California or Arizona, and they submit the selections for you.
And that's what you do.
That's what I do, yeah.
What was the winning amount last year?
A little bit over 18 million. I think about 18.2 million.
And how many people won?
I believe it was 6. Was it 6 people, I think? I'm
not
positive.
Did they split the 18 million?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
So there's no prizes for second place then.
No.
Wow.
That is correct. I'll try and find it in a moment. I have it scattered here on the floor by me.
Jim Feist also joining us, and Jim, you, in case anybody, depending on how old everybody is, be
careful with that age stuff. You know,
Yeah.
I'm very sensitive about that.
Yeah. You had a long-running television show on the USA Network, the first actually of its kind regarding handicapping, and that went on for what, 15, 20 years?
36 years.
36 years. Just
Yes.
the same amount of time that Andy has been living in Las Vegas.
That's right. And you're only 36 years old.
And I'm only 36. So all of a sudden, we've got a nice number we could work on this weekend when we're looking for games to wager on. All right. So anyway, Jim.
And by the way, when I'm in the contests out here, I always use Andy's proxy service because Andy is very precise. He didn't tell you he's a graduate of Penn University in Philadelphia. He is our AI, Andy Isco AI. You've heard of AI, and he is our original AI. Anyway, it's been a lot of fun. I've been out here since 1970. I've been in this business 60 years, and it's hard to believe because when I was going to school, even though when I was skipping a lot of classes, I never imagined I would be in this business trying to make a living betting sports, and unbelievably, I did.
You started out as a professional billiard player.
Well, you don't call it billiards anymore. They call it pool because there is actually a game called billiards.
Oh,
now,
really?
that's an offshoot of we play pool here. They call it billiards, but it's a totally different.
Is that like
game.
soccer and football?
When they play it in England, it's billiards.
Oh, okay.
When they play it here, it's pool.
What is snooker then?
That's pretty much that. That's they don't. Oh boy, snooker is so tough.
Yeah. Billiards has a classier sounding name than pool.
Yes.
Snooker is a bigger table with smaller pockets. It's really a tough game.
All right.
That's like me after going to a restaurant after a losing bet. Bigger stomach, smaller pockets.
We had a guy working for us that, he was good. He's no longer with us, unfortunately, but he was single. He'd have a date. If he had a bad day, he wouldn't show up for the date.
No.
You know, and it was just a bad situation. But he would get so upset when he had a bad day. This is a tough business, because you gotta be willing to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. And I'd like to say something. I don't make it a habit to read Our Lads publication, but I did this time. It's amazing. And Greg, you do a great job with that. It is an amazing publication. Now, you have to be really in to pro football to go through this. It's how many hundreds of pages, it seems.
Yeah.
And unbelievable how much work goes into this thing. It's just absolutely incredible. It definitely takes you almost all year to read it.
Yeah, well, they're professional scouts, and that's why it's worked. Matter of fact, when I first met Dan Shonka, who ran the business, who has run the business for many years, when I first started getting into podcasting from the radio industry, terrestrial radio, I remember that was a very sticky thing for him, is that he didn't like the websites that were popping up proclaiming they were football guys, like they knew how to scout when they weren't professionals. Of course, things have changed in the last 20 years, where now everybody's a professional just because they have a podcast, and we're all kind of used to it. But that's the reason why Our Lads is really up and above and have lasted as long as they have, because they've been very respected, because there are very rare businesses today that actually can say they're professional, that they've done it for a living, and that's why they do a great job.
In my profession, and Andy's in publishing. I used to publish magazines like Mark Lawrence does and stuff like that. But I used to publish a magazine and newsletters. I don't do that anymore. I simply bet sports. But there are some people out there that do a really good job analyzing sports, but they do it from a point spread perspective. Our Lads does it from a player, coach. Well, actually, more player, actually drafting. It's about more drafting than anything, correct?
Correct.
So, I approach it differently, because it's every week I'm betting either on a team or against a team, and it doesn't have anything to do with the players. It really has to do with what they can do against the point spread. And Andy understands that as well, which he talks about in his newsletter, which is also awesome. And so the logical approach is great. I mean, you have other people that do some really good jobs. I mean, like Warren Sharp has a great publication. Mark Lawrence has a great publication. There's a couple of them that do really top flight information, but they are point spread designed. Our Lads, which is like I said, the first time I've ever read, I'm overwhelmed by how much great information's in there. I told you, like I said, it would take you a year to read it. I mean, and you have to really know what you're reading. I mean, I love the analysis. There's a special breakdown for running backs and quarterbacks, except, in some different departments a little bit more. That's great stuff, because I really digested a lot of that.
Appreciate that.
I want to say something also. I say that if you want to describe Our Lads, it's about players and a lot of colleges, especially for fans of the sport. What Jim and I and Mark Lawrence and the others do is, we gear it towards the point spread, and we have been doing it for a long time, and it combines our love of testing our opinion against the marketplace, which is the betting aspect of it, but also our love of the sport and love of sports in general. So that's why I say that what Jim and I do and the others in this industry, I'd say 95 and maybe even higher percentage of that, we're passionate about what we do because we enjoy it so much. It's a mental challenge in many respects, so it keeps our brains sharp. It's a challenge to see if we can spot things and outdo the market in general and make a living out of doing that, whether we combine both betting and publishing, whatever it may be, providing information that people like to look at, that consider important, and has proven itself over time. So I think that that's part of the difference between Our Lads and that audience and the audience for the people who bet. But then again, a lot of people who read Our Lads also do bet, and they get an awful lot of information from that, but from a perspective that is not geared towards the point spread, but certainly impacts decisions that are made relative to the point spread. I wanted to just point out, talked about the survivor. Last week, there were 5 people who went a perfect 20-0. They each won $3.743 million. That's 5 people each earning that. $18,718,000 was the prize pool. I mentioned 20 weeks, and that's because since the beginning, they wanted to see if they could get a single winner getting all these millions of dollars. So they added a couple of twists, and they split up Thanksgiving into 2 separate weeks, Part A and Part B, and then did the same thing for Christmas, Parts A, Christmas Part A, and Christmas Week Part B. And they still, over the past few years when they've done that, they still can't find one person who can go perfect and nobody else. What that means is that, and by the way, if I'm one of the 5 people and I didn't get the 18 million by being the last person standing, I'd be thrilled with the 3.7 million. In fact, if they had 18 people tied and you got 1.8 million each, I'd be thrilled. Right.
Yes, exactly.
But by the way, let me just quickly tell people that it's not as easy as it sounds, and it's not necessarily picking losers.
Doesn't sound easy.
You can only people don't realize this. You can only pick a team once, okay? But you can pick against a team as often as you like. So if you find a team that's really, really bad, you can now. Let's say in theory they go 0-17. You can pick against them 14 times. The only time you can't pick them a second time is when they're playing a division rival for the second time. So if you think a team is really, really bad, is going to go 1-15, 2-15, or 1-16 or whatever, you can pick against the team. But it's not as easy as people think, and we can all share some bad beats of what we mean, because every season there are 7 or 8 bad beats, including last year when the New England Patriots lost at home in Week 1 to the Las Vegas Raiders.
A lot of people lost early.
Yeah. By the way, it's picking the game straight up. In case I didn't mention that,
there's no points involved in this in that particular contest,
and that's why
in the circa millions there is the point spread.
Correct. And of course, that means you can pick a team as often as you like, since it's one of 5 picks every week over the 18 week length of the season. The contest.
There's a contest also at the Westgate, but we don't know what's going to happen to that now that Caesars bought the Westgate. So I got a
little bit of information today for those people out there who are regular listeners, or even maybe just with us for the first time, but are familiar with the contest, the Westgate Super Contest, and various other ones. In fact, Westgate, I believe, is now the only one in town that has a college contest for people who exclusively college. In other words, not a combination like the old Golden Nugget had. But some information I checked with a couple of folks over there, and it appears Westgate is geared towards managing the contest, everything being the same as last year, and the only thing different, obviously, the dates, because the calendar, and very minor procedural or functional changes as far as the rules go. But as far as the major things are concerned, everything is expected to be the same. Now, we don't know, and the reason we mentioned that for people who may not be familiar, the Westgate and Caesars Entertainment entered into a partnership agreement where Caesars is going to run a significant portion of the Westgate Superbook, which will still continue to be called the Westgate Superbook and continue its own brand. And Westgate is expected going to run and administer the Super Contest as in years past. But that partnership requires approval by the Nevada Gaming Commission. We don't know if or when that'll occur. And then yesterday we heard the announcement that it looks as though Caesars Entertainment is now going to be sold to the Fertitta brothers, who were a long time, and think still are to a certain extent, involved in the Station Casinos, which is a series of local Las Vegas casinos. So everything is pending, but the current situation for Westgate appears to be that there will be contests this year, and they are shooting for a July 1st opening date for registration, and I expect an announcement sometime in June about that, probably around June 15th.
So even though Ourlads specializes in scouting and the draft guide that comes out every year, the draft review guide will be out in a few weeks. We have links in the description of this video, also links in the description of this video where you can check out Andy and Jim, how to reach them, social media, as well as their websites. And then the other thing that really impacted Ourlads is, and what really makes them more identifiable today to the younger crowd, is their depth charts. And the depth charts are a very big business for Ourlads. They're the most respected depth charts online today. And they're also into 138 college football teams. Of course, the NFL takes a lot of the traffic. And so that's the one thing that they pride themselves on. And of course, what's also big about it is fantasy football. And as fantasy football has continued to grow, so has the fans' desire for information and to find out exactly what's going on with the team and their roster and their depth charts and so forth. So that's what we're actually going to be showing today, as we do every day whenever we come on. And
by the way, excuse me, one thing, Greg, I'm going to put you on the spot. Who are the new teams that have moved up to the FBS?
Oh, North Dakota State.
They are joining the Mountain West, which, by the way, one of the publications has already hit the newsstands, and they pick UNLV to win the Mountain West this year, which may be a surprise to many people, even to us here in Las Vegas, despite the fact that the program's excelled over the last 3 years. But much of the old Mountain West is now part of the new, I guess it's Pac-10, I think, again, as far as the number of teams. They may still be calling it the Pac-12.
And so how many teams are now in the Mountain West?
I believe it's 9 or 10, because they picked up a few. Washington State, Oregon State, I think, is in there now. I think Texas State is in there, and North Dakota State, and maybe Hawaii, I think, is still in there. I think Utah and Fresno left. But I'll say, Greg, the other team was Northern Illinois. Not Northern Illinois, Cal State Sacramento, which is joining
State,
the Sacramento State. I think Northern Illinois is in the Big West this year.
Greg, what you have up on the screen is the Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah, this is the Falcons depth chart. And if anybody's new to the depth charts as we go through them, the players that are in blue, those are the veteran players that were on the team basically last year. The players in yellow, orange, you can call it, these are the free agents that were signed. The players in purple, those are the rookies that were drafted. And the players that are in aqua, you could say, those are college free agents that were signed after the draft. And
by the way, excuse me, Greg, is there a separate designation of players who have been acquired by trade as opposed to free agency, or is that all one and the same, just new with previous pro experience?
That would be the orange, same as the free agents.
Okay.
And all you need to see here, let's see if somebody's made a trade here. It would be designated by the T.
Okay.
As you can see here. So this player was acquired via trade. This player was acquired UFA. That's what they use for.
Okay.
It's a
I thought it was a middle initial.
Yeah, no.
No, seriously.
Sure. I can understand that.
Yes.
And all you got to do is click on the player's name, and it gives you all of their information regarding their bio, their player transaction history, and whatever scouting information was in that year's draft guide gets put in to their bio on the website, usually by the beginning of the year. So right now, of course, the information for all the rookies are not available until another couple of months, because obviously, you should go out and get the draft guide. So this way you'll be able
is this available to everyone on the
Yes. This is free.
That's unbelievable. That is a fantastic tool. Fantastic.
Yeah, it was interesting because I remember they were free when they began, and then they went into a membership deal, and then they came back to free because they were able to basically they get advertising. And since all you need to do is see
this is all digital. The guide is all digital, correct?
No, the draft guide is both PDF form and hard copy.
Oh, okay. It's both. I thought maybe it was free because you didn't have the publishing expense with the hard copy.
Well, if you buy
this is the hard copy right here.
You have to pay for the magazine, correct?
Yeah, just like Mark. Yeah. We have a magazine here.
And how much is that, Greg? And where's it available?
Well, all you need to do, we have links in the description of this video. So all you need to do is go to again, whenever I'm on the other. It's kind of hard. Somehow they take away some of these links here. Let's see. You have to click the buy draft guide. You go. Hopefully, it'll send us over to the page, new orders, and then here's all the information. Again, there's a link in the description of the video where you can check out all of this information. And right here, the 2026 guide, $40. And then here it talks about exactly how much you have to pay additionally. And then you also have the PDF version. And the PDF version is a lot less than the hard copy. And then you could also do a PDF version of both the draft guide or the draft review guide. Matter of fact, the draft review guide PDF is only $12.95. And again, that'll be out in a couple of weeks. And it's a much smaller guide. But what it does is it basically goes over every team. It lists all the players. And so people like me and about 6 or 7 others are responsible for several teams out of all the 32. We go in and we break down every draft pick and we talk about, why those picks were drafted and what we thought about it. And same thing with the free agents and a bit of other information that's really cool for you to check out. So it's only $12.95.
So, Greg, when you were talking about what's available for free, you were referring to those depth charts we were looking at.
Correct. Yeah. The depth charts.
To avoid any confusion.
Yes, the depth charts. That's where you are able to take advantage for free, and they basically recoup their money, as I said, with advertising. So the more that you surf their website, the more money they make. And with 138 college teams and 32 NFL teams and all the players that are listed on those pages all have specific bio pages, that's a lot of traffic, which is why they just decided, let's just do this for free and we'll recoup the money through advertising. Yeah, so and that's sense. A much better way because everybody gets and if you have a problem with ad pop-ups and things of that nature, and I know that could be distracting, you don't see ad pop-ups here because I'm a part of something called the RLads Insider, and it's a monthly fee. You can check it out. I got a link in the description of this video. There's also a video on the RLads channel about it, about what's involved with that. But you pay a few bucks a month, and it's just gives you an opportunity to not have any pop-ups. It's like their own little whatchamacallit, the what is the service that we use? Oh, like your own VPN. Where we can just block the ads, and it also gives you some other additional cool things because I know if somebody is surfing RLads continuously, like almost every other day, and they love it, you have to get the Insider because you wouldn't want to distract yourself from the ads that are popped up. It's sort of like being a premium member on YouTube. So you don't want to have breaks in the videos. Just, you pay them a monthly fee and you don't have any commercial breaks. Okay, so let's get started. We've got the Atlanta Falcons. We're going to go in alphabetical order. And so we are going to talk about what we're also going to do is I'm going to ask you guys when we're done with each team, whether you're going to buy or sell, how their offseason has gone. It doesn't necessarily have to mean that it refers to, say, their win total price, and we're going to go over that with each team. We'll go over their Super Bowl number. We'll go over their division number. But just generally, do you buy what they've done this offseason, or are you going to sell? And also got to remind everybody that it is May. So when we get into August and we do our final predictions and final analysis on all these teams, obviously we could have some change of opinions because we still have months to go before the season begins, injuries, a lot of stuff can happen, as we all know. Between now and
then. Can you page down to where the quarterback depth is?
Oh, this red here is the other thing is that designates a player who's injured. So anytime you see a player in red and there's another player here, James Pierce, well, it's either injured or he's dealing with a suspension.
Yeah, go back up to that quarterback. If you could go back to the quarterbacks, who do we have behind Tua? Trevor Siemian and Jack Strand. Okay.
Yeah. So and right now, it's really looking like Tua is going to end up the starter on day one because
there's nothing on this site about coaches. I take it correct.
The coaching staff is down here.
Okay,
so that's the general manager.
Very impressed with Tua.
See, this is where I start my handicapping with every team, not just the head coach, with the offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, if they have a designated quarterback coach or line coach or anything like that, I go there. Stefanski, I believe, is a huge upgrade. I like Stefanski. He's been with a very bad organization. Obviously, everybody knows what the Browns are, and you go back 60 years, which is where I've been in the business that long. The Browns are just capable of losing anything to anybody at any time, and they are good at it. But Stefanski's a good coach, and the problem is he's going to carry that weight with him for a long time. But this guy is a really big upgrade. I think the Browns made a big mistake getting rid of him.
He was on a lot of teams' radar who were looking for coaching replacements after last season. He just chose. I guess he just liked the situation in Atlanta.
Well, I like the ownership of. I mean, I can't. That's probably not listed, but ownership of a team. Like, for example, I'm not going to.
Arthur Blank stays out of the way.
He stays out of the way. He's a smart man, obviously. Stays out of the way. Lets the people that know the game do the thing, as opposed to Jerry Jones, who has led America's team to 27 years without ever getting anywhere. But Stefanski with Arthur Blank, I think, is a good combination. Now the question is, what are they going to get out of the quarterback position? I start at this level. That's where I start. I start at this level. Start with the coaching. Start with the ownership. Then the offensive, defensive coordinators. Somebody's going to be calling the plays. And for example, we're going to talk about Tampa in a little while. Baker Mayfield had a couple of years ago had a great year, and they did really super well. I happen to like Baker Mayfield a lot, but then they lost their offensive coordinator, and last year's offensive coordinator, who's no longer there, didn't do a very good job, in my opinion, and they fell apart.
And the guy who was Cohn, who was the offensive coordinator at Tampa Bay, went over to Jacksonville, and we're seeing Trevor Lawrence 2.0.
That's right.
Yeah, expecting Tampa Bay to find a third straight diamond in the rough as an OC was really asking a lot, and it really hurt them last year on top of the injuries. And that's what we'll talk about.
They had a lot of offensive line injuries that were hurting. And this year, of course, they're going to have to replace Mike Evans, who's been an astronomically good wide receiver.
Yeah. So we'll get into that when we talk about Tampa. So here's, by the way, I don't know if you know about this site. This is a great site for anybody who wants to know about the entire staff, front office, everything about every NFL team. It's called NFL Staffs on Wikipedia, and they have it listed everybody. As you can see here, they've got the owner, president, GM, head coach, all the different position coaches also have their own page where you can check out what their bios are. So this is a really,
by the way, strength and conditioning is also being shown there. And that has a lot to do when you're trying to evaluate if there's something endemic as far as injuries, significant injuries always occurring to certain players or certain teams.
So this is NFL Staff. Is that what this is?
Yeah, it's called NFL Staffs on Wikipedia.
Okay.
And so this, because that is definitely, like, I agree with you 100%, Jim. It's definitely important when you're analyzing how each team is. And so Atlanta, they have a new head coach, another coach that's important.
Oh, by the way, excuse me, because I want to just elaborate a little bit on what Jim said. Talk about strength of organization. Go back and take a look. Take a look at the Arizona Cardinals. Take a look at the New York Jets. Take a look at right now the Raiders, many other organizations. But for a few brief periods every now and then, you go back there. Now, the Raiders are a little bit different with Al Davis when he passed away, I think around 2010 or so. But the Arizona Cardinals have been historically bad. They've been under the same ownership. The Cincinnati Bengals for many years were very, very bad. So they finally were able to hire a decent coach in Marvin Lewis, who got them in the playoffs. But it seems that the New York Giants were absolutely horrible for about 20 years. After the 1963 championship loss to Chicago, because they would hire former players to run the organization. Then they turned it over to George Young, who had built up, I believe, a lot to do with the undefeated Dolphins season and their stretch run. George Young put in professional people who were coaching backgrounds and all that, and the Giants became a strong team for much of the last almost 50 years now, except for some of the recent situations. So strength of organization is all, and I'll talk about that in this division when I get to talk about each of these teams. Just take a look at the record of these teams over the last 5 years.
Well, it's a really good team to make a point, Andy, and that is that if you look at the Giants, like you said, they make one hire in George Young, who makes the hire for Bill Parcells.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden,
who makes the hire for Bill Belichick?
Yes, and then all of a sudden, they've got this foundation started for about that last a good 15 years or so. Coughlin is able to come in a little bit after that.
Who I believe also had New York Giant ties before he went to Boston College as a head coach.
And so, but what you also notice is, and Eli Manning is a great example, is that not a lot would go on, say, like in that era until after Parcells. They had a great run. Every year they were always in the middle of it. But ever since Parcells left, it was spotty, but Coughlin was there, and he was really the only coach that's been successful since Parcells with the Giants.
Yeah.
Fossil had some moments, but
by the way, Coughlin was a successful head coach. He came in; he was the original coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars, who got him to the playoffs, and I think to one of the AFC Championship games before coming over to the Giants, if I recall.
And it all started with the hiring of one person. Now, does that mean that the Giants ownership is some sort of smart ownership that this was our plan all along, to suck for 20 years and then we'd hire somebody and it would be fine? No. They got lucky, and that's what a lot of these franchises can do. And but the one thing the Giants ownership does is they also kind of, for the most part, they stay out of things. They let the business people handle the football team. And that's what you hope for. What you don't want is an owner that's a middler. I mean, that gets involved in everything going on with the football team. And you mentioned, of course, Jerry Jones, Jim, and that's been a big issue for the Cowboys for a while.
Although, to be fair, I will give Jerry Jones credit. He has stepped back a little bit. He's turned things over to his son. But when he first came over in 89 or 90, he was involved in every possible decision that could be made. And you don't hear as much from him as involvement anymore, at least not on a nationwide basis, as you did throughout the 1990s.
All right. So let me move this out of the way. Let's go ahead and talk about overall the Falcons. Let me bring up their win total. So the Falcons are at 6.5. That's not a lot. Minus 115 over, minus 105 under.
Well, we might mention here, this is the only division in football that last year produced 0 winning teams.
Yeah, and Atlanta is right now
And by the way, I don't believe that was the first time that occurred.
No, it hasn't been. No, it was not the first time.
Atlanta is definitely the one team that most prognosticators are looking at as, well, this is the 4th place team. This is the team that really doesn't have a great chance to make the postseason.
By the way, are you talking 6.5 as being the number here? Because that's the closest to, okay. Because I'm seeing 7.5 a lot of places too, but that's not as solid as the 6.5 where you got the minus 15, minus 05.
Which off division do they play their other games against?
They play. You mean the schedule this year?
Yes,
they're playing the NFC North and the AFC North. So both North divisions. And when you look at the schedule, I would say that Carolina clearly has the toughest schedule. They have the first place schedule. Atlanta, and again, this is in my opinion, Atlanta has got the 2nd toughest schedule. Then Tampa Bay, I think, is pretty average. And New Orleans has the easiest schedule out of the 4, in my opinion.
Because if I recall correctly, all 3 teams were 8-9, except for New Orleans, which was 6-11. So New Orleans gets. And by the way, it was a 6-11, and if this was like a horse race, and instead of being 1.25 miles, it was 1.5 miles. New Orleans perhaps wins that division because they were playing the best football of the 4 teams at the end of the season, and yet they ended up with the number 4th place schedule. So their two non-common opponents in the NFC are other 4th place teams, and I think one of the whatever division that they don't play all 4 teams in the AFC also.
I'd like to open for discussion this. Who do you think who is the best head coach, the best offensive coordinator, and the best quarterback? And then secondly, the best offensive line and the best defensive line out of these 4 teams. We're only talking about 4 out of the 32 teams, so it's kind of easy to pinpoint that.
So you want to know who has the best?
Start with the head coach, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, quarterback. That's the first 3 questions.
Coach, 2 coordinators, and quarterback.
Right. 4 questions.
Anything else?
For me, it would be Stefanski's the best coach. The quarterback would be Baker Mayfield. Then we go from there. Some of these other coaches, the offensive, defensive coordinators, are still unproven. So I don't know. I don't have enough background.
Yeah, see, that's it. With me, it's hard to say. I don't know about Stefanski, other than he had better success in Cleveland than most people realize. Getting that, that's another team with poor organization at the top that meddles and doesn't come away with much. But he got them into the playoffs 2 times in his, I think 6 seasons there. And he comes over with a very high profile, high reputation. But we don't know. Here's an Atlanta team that over the last 5 years, they've won 7, going backwards, 8, 7, 7, and 7. So he's taken over a very mediocre team with probably better the talent of more than an 8-8 type team. Canales in Carolina, he took over a team that was 2-15, made them 5-12 in the first year, and got them to 8-9 in year 2, which was last year. And they won because of tiebreakers with New Orleans, with Atlanta and Tampa Bay. But so he, in his 2 years as a head coaching job, has done well. He's taken a 2-15 team up to a 500 team at 8-9. They were 8-10 because they lost the playoff game. We don't have much on Kellen Moore, other than the fact that I would mention that he has to be considered positive so far. He had that 1 year in New Orleans, 6-11, taking a slight improvement the year before. But what I liked about him is he was the offensive coordinator in Philadelphia the year before when they won the Super Bowl handily against Kansas City. He left, and Philadelphia's offense showed a significant decline last year. And that's almost the same thing that I could say about the Jacksonville coach who came over from Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay's offense declined when their coach went over to Jacksonville last year. But Tampa, that was the offense. But as far as the head coach goes, even Tampa Bay stuck down a little bit. Todd Bowles he gets awfully criticized, yet you look at this team, they've won 4 straight division. They had won 4 straight division titles before losing out on the tiebreaker last year to Carolina. 8 wins in his first year, then 10, then 8, including playoffs. He took over a team that won the Super Bowl. So I can't say that of these 4 this year that any of them are terrible coaches. I think the common perception would say it's Todd Bowles. But I just pointed out that he had a pretty good record, with the Tampa Bay team that was one of those teams that for many, many years would have only spotty success, and now they've had success for basically 6 straight years.
Yeah, I have a lot of confidence in the abilities of both David Canales with Carolina and Kellen Moore with the Saints. I think they've got good coaches. I think both of those teams are going to they're going to continue to improve every year. Tampa Bay, we just don't know because, again, even though you mentioned Todd Bowles and there's been a lot of success there, this is going to be a big year for him. I don't know if he could survive this year if they don't make the playoffs. So this will be a big year, and they have a new offensive coordinator. We'll get to them in a minute. As far as Atlanta, they haven't really made a lot of personnel changes. Every team makes some, but nothing big. They didn't sign any major players. Tua is the biggest deal because he could end up starting. They also have a new offensive tackle in Jawaan Taylor, and keeping in mind that he's now the blind side protector because both Penix and Tua are lefties. So he's sort of like the left tackle. And Jawaan Taylor did not have a really good run with the Kansas City Chiefs, which is the reason why he was let go. And then now he's with the Falcons. So, but this is important. You talked about offensive lines, Jim. We're not going to mention this probably in our other 31 other evaluations, but the Atlanta Falcons, I believe, have the best offensive line coach in the game, and that's Bill Callahan. He was the offensive line coach for Stefanski with Cleveland before he took the job to go under his son with Tennessee for the last couple of years. Now with his son being fired, he's back with Stefanski with Atlanta. And that'll be a big, big deal for the Falcons to have one of the best, if not the best offensive line coaches in the game working for him.
And how would you rate him compared to Philadelphia's line coach?
Well, like I said, I just think Callahan is just one of these guys that just proves every time, no matter where he goes, he just is able to lift up players that are not top draft picks.
He's considered the next best following to come along after, I guess, Tom Moore, who was a hugely popular and successful offensive line coach for many years, and now certainly with the Colts.
Yeah, he's still coaching, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Now,
I think he's in his 80s.
We have Penix here, and we don't know what the status will be with him. He has a lot of ability and a lot of potential, but right behind him you have Tua, who might actually end up being the starter, who did lead the Miami Dolphins and the league, I should say, in passing just a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Now, I believe he has a better head coach now. Then we're going to start looking at other angles. But if they have a good offensive line and they have two very good running backs, Bijan Robinson, number one, and they just added somebody to that. Was that?
Well, Brian Robinson comes over from San Francisco, but yeah, Bijan is he might be the best running back in the NFL right now.
Exactly. So now you have Robinson and Robinson. Okay. Yes.
And Pitts had a nice year last year as a former first-round draft pick.
There's a lot of talent on this team, and if there's a coach who had shown, and as he did with Cleveland, Stefanski, he can get more out of this the talent that Atlanta has than previous coaches have.
Well, the problem, though, that they're going to have is really on defense. This is really the problem, is that now they did retain Jeff Ulbrich, who was there last year, and so that's the one holdover. But the whole thing, they sacrificed their draft last year, well, in April, in 2025, when they traded their first-round draft pick, and they moved up in the draft, and they selected James Pierce. And Pierce is now in a lot of trouble as far as suspension. And even though there's talk that because he's now complying and he's going to counseling, that he's going to end up possibly playing this year, which is going to be a big deal because he was one of the rookies of the year last year on defense, along with Jalon Walker on the other side, another first-round draft pick in the same draft last year. So if for some reason they're without Pierce for a little bit of time, that's going to be a big loss for them. But that's the side of the ball that there's a little bit concerned with is Atlanta's defensive side. I would definitely say the offense, as long as Tua picks up the offense and could be the Tua of old. And there's still a lot of question to that as well.
Well, the defensive coordinator, who do we have there? And we have to remember that Stefanski was with Cleveland, even though they didn't do very well at the quarterback position because they changed quarterbacks like you change your shirts. They did have a very strong defense. Can that carry over because of him, or is that going to have to carry over with the defensive coordinator? Because I don't think the defensive coordinator came with him.
Nope, it didn't. And the talent is not here like they have in Cleveland. So this is not going to be anywhere near as good as a defense as the Browns have. Again, Jeff Ulbrich was the defensive coordinator for Robert Saleh when he was coaching the Jets. No. And so, yeah, I mean, he's fine.
And then that was the strength of the Jets when Saleh was head coach.
Yeah. But I don't look at Jeff Ulbrich as some sort of top defensive coordinator. I mean, that was Saleh's team. And so he's a fine defensive coordinator, but he's not a difference maker. And he doesn't have the talent anyway. So that's the other thing is that, like I said, I mean, there's
that's where coaching comes in, because sometimes you say, well, it's the talent. Maybe it's the talent that is suffering from a lack of good coaching. Because remember, these guys had talents to be drafted in the first place, and to be starters, they had supposedly the best talent at the position on the team. So when you get a new coaching system in there, I think sometimes we see a lot of guys who were considered busts. Look at Baker Mayfield, how he struggled under different offensive coordinators until the last few years. Well,
Cohen helped him a lot.
Who am I thinking of? Yeah. Well, that's Trevor Lawrence. Yeah. I mean, the same athletes, same talents, misused, underutilized, poorly utilized.
So again, keep in mind, no big offseason additions, and they did not have a first-round draft pick. That was the pick for James Pierce in 2025. So there's nobody new on the team that is going to impact them, except maybe, they've got some free agents like every team does and some draft picks. So we'll see how they go there. But anyway,
who are they settled on as their kicker? Because I know that their former kicker they got rid of, he was missing everything, and they finally got rid of him.
Yeah, well, they actually signed Nick Folk away from the Jets, and Folk had a huge year last year. I think he only missed one kick the entire year, and now he'll get a chance to play in a dome. So overall, I think when you take a look at it, I think their kicking game should be in good shape with Nick Folk. kicker.
Right.
And he also drafted Zachariah Branch as a kick returner, and he's got a lot of ability in that role. So, yeah, Atlanta probably have an uptick in their special teams this offseason.
I still don't know why people are picking them for fourth in this division.
Well, we got to go on then. So let's. You want to hold your picks until we're done with all four?
I'm just saying other people, they have them rated them at the bottom. I don't quite get that.
Well, we haven't gone. Let's go through the other three teams then and see if you feel the same way.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So let's go with next Carolina. And this is actually, and I've said this quite a bit on the show over the last few weeks, this is my number one sleeper in all of the NFL. I think Carolina is being completely disrespected. I know they didn't have a winning record last year, but they were still a team that had a lot of growth last year.
Had two great games against the Rams.
Had the big playoff game, which they almost won against those Rams you're talking about, Andy.
And didn't they beat them in the regular season, right?
They did.
Yes, they did. Yes,
they did.
And so
and many people consider, even though Seattle won, the game against the Rams and the Super Bowl, many people, and I think probably a significant majority of them, or at least a majority of them, consider the Rams to have been the best team in the league last year.
So I think the other reason why I'm really high on Carolina is I feel really strongly that Bryce Young is going to break out. I think it's time. I think he's had his growth period. He's healthy, and he's been under this staff now for a couple of years. He's got a good ground game. The receiving core, if you take a look at it, their first-round draft pick last year is going to be a star. Coker's also a very good player. And they added another good receiver in the third round. So they have more weapons now at receiver that they have had in a long time. And the offensive line is also in good shape. So when you take a look at the additions that they made, they made a few of them on offense that will help them. But I think the biggest additions they made were on defense. They made a 1-2 punch where they were able to bring in Devin Lloyd from Jacksonville at linebacker and Jalen Phillips from the Eagles. If you look at it, Phillips, he has 28 career sacks. He played, of course, for the Dolphins early in his career as a first-round draft pick. Devin Lloyd played as a first-round draft pick for Jacksonville, and he broke out for the Jags last year, had a monster season. And so they were able to get both Lloyd and Phillips in the same free agency class and to go along with a really good looking draft class as well. And what they did last year, that's why I'm very high on Carolina this year.
I'll tell you what I like about you talked about Bryce Young. This is now his fourth year in the league, and you take a look at the way he has progressed. I'll use the statistics, for example, that I like to look at. His quarterback rating has increased each year. His percentage completion of rating has increased each year, and those are not based on the number of games you play. I think he played 14, 16, and 14. But look at his TD to interceptions. Rookie year, 11 TDs, 10 interceptions. Next year, 15 versus 9. Last year, 23 versus 11. That's a nice progression of improvement, and maybe a lot of it has to do with Canales, who came over because of his offensive effectiveness previously. Where was he? With Seattle previously?
Tampa Bay, and then Seattle before that as a receiver.
Yeah.
Coach.
Okay. Okay. So I like the progression as that Young is making. Even though it's been, especially since it's under two different coaches, but there's an example of a guy who, after his rookie season, they were questioning if that was a good pick, where he got picked in the draft. Now it's looking like a solid pick, and the ceiling for him appears to have been rising.
How's the offensive line here, Greg?
Oh yeah, the offensive line is strong. They've got on the bookends. Now, the one thing that they were concerned with is Ekwonu. He had an injury in the playoff game. So he got hurt against the Rams. And so there was a big, it was a big issue heading into the offseason about what they were going to do. So they went out and they signed Rasheed Walker, which was a really good pickup. He's got a lot of experience playing with Packers. And then they also used their first-round draft pick on an offensive tackle. So they got a veteran offensive tackle. They got a first-round draft pick, a tackle. And so now they've got really 2 players as backup insurance in case anything happens long-term with their left tackle. Otherwise, they're really strong at guard. And also they added a center, Luke Fortner, in free agency. He had his best year last year with the Saints when he was filling in for Mike McCoy, who was injured. So, and he also drafted a kid who is going to be a good player down the road. So yeah, the offensive line is pretty good right now for Carolina. And so overall, again, I think the Panthers are headed.
What's their season win total?
Let's check out Carolina.
I think you had 6.5 for the Falcons.
So here we go. Carolina.
So I think I showed them at 6.5.
They are at 7.5.
7.5. Okay.
And again, that's again a reason why I think they're being completely disrespected. I mean, this is a team that won 8 games last year, and no one is going to convince me just because they have a first place schedule that they're not going to be a winning team this year.
Well, to me, and I agree with the over on the 7.5. To me, it's those 2 games against the Rams. It shows that they have the ability and the talent to get it done, albeit most of that came on the offensive side of the ball, but that was against a decent Rams defensive team. So, if the defense can hold its own, I could see Carolina getting at least the 8 wins they had last year, maybe 9. I don't know how much more they can get to that because I like another team in this division that we'll get to, but I do believe that Carolina will be improved.
Well, we got 4 teams in this division. They're all starting behind the 8 ball because of their previous year. Somebody's going to break out, and it very well could be Carolina, or it could be, or we could regress back to who'd been winning it the previous 3 years, which would be Tampa and Baker Mayfield, and with all his
previous 5 years, I believe, or 6 years.
Was it
5
that
years?
long?
Yeah.
All right. So next up, we have the Saints, and the Saints.
What's their total?
They are at 7.5 as well. Let's go over to the Saints.
They're looking at a higher number than Atlanta was, which was 6.5.
Yeah, which is surprising.
Yeah, so they're at 7.5.
That is a little surprising, yes.
Yeah, again, so they're actually the second choice in the division, which I'm a little bit surprised about. Again, this is why I think Carolina is being disrespected as the third choice in the division. They have the Saints as the second choice, 7.5 though, same number in the win total. So
see, I actually have the Saints ahead of Carolina, but it's 1-2, not 2-3. I have New Orleans ahead of Carolina, but not by a great amount. I have Atlanta in third.
Okay, so as far as the Saints and what they were able to do in the offseason, their biggest addition was at running back on offense when they were able to get Travis Etienne, who had a big breakout year for Jacksonville at running back. So Travis Etienne is now the number 1 running back for the Saints. That'll be a big help for Tyler Shuck in year 2 of his development. And then on defense.
And they still have a nice backup in Kamara.
Well, yeah. I think they're trying to trade Kamara. I think he might be
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if because of his salary that they're able to trade him, but he's not a bad backup if they're stuck with him.
I think so. I think that might break loose after June 1st.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Devin Neal is a fine rookie from last year, so I'm sure that has a lot to do with it. And they have a couple of other good players. By the way, I am going to be speaking with Darian Gray of whodatdish.com. Saint site on one of our interviews on this channel. That'll be next week on Wednesday. So if you're into the Saints, check it out. Next Wednesday, we'll talk about the Saints with Darian Gray. So yeah, on defense, this is, I think, the biggest problem, though. And this has to do with their cap situation not being really good, that they were only able to add really 1 or 2 players and none really significant. I guess the biggest name is probably Martin Emerson, the corner, and Caden Ellis at linebacker, but they've lost Demario Davis. That's a big loss. He's a big veteran linebacker, leader of the team. He goes to the Jets. And then they also had an edge problem. And I remember talking to Darian before the draft and offseason. I said, what is the biggest need for the Saints? He says, well, we got to get 2 edge rushers. And you know what? They got none. So that's the biggest problem right there, is that the Saints really just didn't have enough collateral. I mean, they decided in their first round draft pick, instead of going with an edge rusher, they decided to use it on a wide receiver. So Jordan Tyson, who has been an oft injured player in college, but he's clearly the number one rated offensive talented wide receiver out of this draft. Very good player.
How was their offense overall last year?
Well,
I mean, again, he had a rookie quarterback, so
yeah, and he really developed at the end of the year.
Because one thing that's very interesting about the New Orleans Saints, because I look at point spread, straight up point spread and over unders. Here's what the Saints have done over unders for the last 5 years, starting with last year: 5-12, 8-9, 6-11, 6-11, 7-10. That's 5 straight years where they've had more unders than overs, including that dramatic 5-12 last year. And I have to account for some of that. Yeah, you could have a very inept. You may have a very inept offense, but you can't have a terrible defense, maybe a mediocre defense overall, to play that many unders.
You're talking about the weekly totals?
Yeah, the individual totals for each week, each game. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was surprised about that.
You don't have the team total aspect of that, do you?
As far as
what the Saints team totals, themselves.
No, no. Well,
not
I was
the
just
game
giving
total,
you.
but the team total. Like for example, they're supposed to score 20. The other team's supposed to.
Oh, I don't have. That's why I asked about the offense. That the offense, even if it was horrible last year as far as what they called, the fact that they had played so many unders means that the defense had to contribute something to it. It's not like in other words, it's not like they gave up 30 points a game and still managed to play all these unders. Maybe they gave up 23 points a game.
What they averaged on offense last year?
Yeah, that's what I don't have in front of me.
Okay.
Maybe Greg does.
Well, and again, one of their longtime edge rushers, Cam Jordan, who I believe he was over double digits in sacks last year, and he's like 37 years old. He's still a free agent, so they have not re-signed him as of yet. And so that's, again, why at this point in time, even though, and again, like I said, Demario Davis is gone.
Sometimes free agents don't sign, especially at that age. They don't want to get into training camp. They're going to sign, but they'll do it with 2 weeks left in training camp. That's been known to happen. But I'm just speculating on that.
Well, yeah, and I'm sure most of the free agents who are still left, you're right. Those are the guys, the older guys. They're waiting to find out who gets hurt in training camp. Yeah. Plus, I don't have to go to training camp, so I can sit in my living room and wait for the call.
That's the key. That's the key.
So if a team. And it doesn't mean it to be New Orleans. If a team outside of New Orleans says, hey, wait a second, come on, Cam, he'll leave. So the Saints may or may not get Cam Jordan back. And then they're going to be I think that's going to really hurt them because they do not have anybody on this depth chart that is going to be looked at as a big edge rusher. So that's going to be some problems right there.
Who's the defensive coordinator for Saints?
That's Brandon Staley, the former Chargers head coach.
Okay.
The guy who stood stick to being a defensive coordinator.
That's what I was going to say.
The man will horrible with his offensive play call. Never get a head coaching job again.
No. So so anyway, that's the deal with the Saints. Again, they just at least they were able to bring in Etienne, but they weren't able to bring in anybody on defense. Except through the draft, and even in the draft, the only big defensive player.
Is this Staley's first year on the coaching staff?
No.
Okay. So he came with. Did he come with? No, he didn't.
He came with more. Yep.
Okay, I thought Staley was still at Chicago or the Chargers back when Moore was in his final year with Philly.
No, they both came together last year.
Okay.
Kristen Miller, he's their top rookie. He's the only top defensive player they drafted, and that's it. So I think that's what I'm definitely when I talk to Darian next week, lots of questions I'll ask him about why he would think that the Saints might be able to get away with this. But
ask him especially about Cam Jordan, because that's interesting considering the success that he had at the age he was last year.
But the offense will be better, and that's look. If you're going to spend a first-round draft pick on a wide receiver, a top 10 pick, and your rookie quarterback is now in his second year and you bring in Travis Etienne, your offense should be a lot better.
Yeah.
So they're probably going to be in a lot of high-scoring games, I would imagine.
Yeah, that's why I'm surprised to learn that the Saints.
They do play in perfect conditions too, indoors. So.
Yep.
Yes.
All right. So that's New Orleans. And now we will wrap it up with Tampa Bay.
And their win total?
Tampa Bay's win total is 8.5. So let me go to check it out just to double check. And of course, they have their new coordinator after striking out last. Why don't you just put this in alphabetical order, you idiots?
I think they do it maybe by a nickname. No, there it is.
Anyway, so it's 8.5. At plus 100, minus 120 under. And so remember, Tampa Bay does have a new offensive coordinator. They actually have the Atlanta Falcons offensive coordinator. So Atlanta brought in an offensive coordinator last year. He's a Sean McVay disciple, and it didn't work out with Atlanta. So Tampa Bay has brought in Zach Robinson to be the offensive coordinator for.
You say he's a Sean McVay disciple.
Yep.
And McVay got that good year, those games out of Mayfield when he came over in that midseason trade a few years ago. And
I believe Robinson was there when Mayfield was there.
Yeah.
So, because I remember Cohen was there when Mayfield was there.
Yeah.
So I'd have to check with Robinson. Anyway, so let me pop up Tampa Bay and their depth chart. And as far as their big offseason acquisitions, keep in mind Levante David retired at linebacker.
That's a big loss for leadership.
Yep, just like DeMario Davis leaving the Saints. So a couple of big losses for the Bucs and the Saints at linebacker. They also lost, as Jim said before, Mike Evans. So Mike Evans decided Tampa Bay offered him the same amount of money. He didn't want it. He wanted something different. So he went to San Francisco, and also leaving the team.
Which by the way, is an interesting decision on Evans' part, because Tampa Bay had been in the playoffs for 5 straight years before last year tying and losing out on tiebreakers. San Francisco, he's at San Francisco, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
San Francisco is in a division where 3 teams were 12-5 last year, as opposed to a Tampa Bay team that was in a very weak division. And I would think that especially with what he's accomplished, that Tampa Bay, because of the division they're in, may have a better chance of making it to the postseason than might San Francisco.
Well, sometimes these decisions have
maybe other factors.
Yeah, other factors. You got wife, children, they want to, maybe he wants to live on the West Coast instead of the East Coast. And he's at the end of his career anyway.
Yeah.
So
it's interesting because what's he got, like 9 or 10 straight every season he's been in the league. He's had over 1,000 yards receiving.
Oh, he's incredible.
Yep.
And I would have thought, and again, maybe it matters absolutely nothing to them, other than he could be probably one of the all-time leaders in receiving yards and over 1,000 a season, all to do it with one club.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's not going to happen. I think that's
one of those intangibles, but yeah.
I think the other thing to consider is that, and again, I spoke to James Yarcho, who is with the Locked On Bucs podcast, about this, and maybe part of it had to do with the fact that, hey, I mean, this is a very deep receiving room right now. They're very young, mostly young and deep. And Mike Evans was not going to be getting as many touches as he was used to. And so he's now.
What was his contract situation, Evans, as far as because when you've got all those young receivers, you could use a guy like Evans as sort of like an on-field.
No, they wanted to pay him. He didn't want it.
Okay, so he turned down.
He
whatever
said no.
Money
it's not about money.
Okay.
Yeah. So
there's probably some, maybe his wife's from San Francisco area. Who knows? It's a lot of factors go into it, especially if you're looking to play a couple of years and they want to live on the West Coast instead of the East Coast.
So Chris Godwin, of course, he's now the veteran of the room, and as long as he's healthy, like he was at the end of last season, he's now going to be, the big pro there. But they still have young players. Like Buka was off to a great start last year as a rookie, got a little bit banged up.
He was amazing last year early.
And then they really high into 3rd-round draft pick Ted Hurst they got in the draft. So again, McMillan, another good player. So they should still be fine at wide receiver. They had the injury situation at running back to Bucky Irvin. He missed about 6 weeks last year. He comes back. They kind of swap. Rashad White goes to Washington. Kenneth Gainwell comes in from Pittsburgh. So they'll be fine there. And then the offensive line needs to stay healthy. As you mentioned before, Jim, the offensive line had too many injuries, and that's what really hurt them.
Wurs he didn't even start the first week or two he missed, and that was huge. And I mean, they had so many injuries. You know how far out in the limb I was with Tampa last year to win the division, get the conference championship. I was way out there. Obviously didn't work out very well, but it was more due to injuries than anything else.
Yep. Baker Mayfield is 31 years old. That's kind of like, I'd say it's still in the prime of a career, 31.
Yeah. Yep.
So,
and he was banged up. Yeah. So now he's healthy.
And played through a lot of those bang-ups.
Well, he's a tough guy. And
he's a gamer.
The thing is, he had no protection. I mean, it was a disaster. There was one or 2 weeks where they had 3 offensive linemen out.
Yeah.
It was like,
how's their offensive line, Greg?
Open the barn.
As long as they're healthy. I mean, it's the same offensive line from last year. So it's just about everybody being healthy. That's it. And it's a good line. So they just have to stay healthy.
Yep.
On the defensive side, as far as a couple of now this is where Tampa Bay really is going to improve themselves immensely. Remember I mentioned that New Orleans decided to not draft an edge rusher, and instead they went to wide receiver. Well, an edge rusher not only passed the Saints, but passed a few other teams, and that's Ruben Bain, the Miami Hurricanes star edge rusher. They almost won a national championship last year. He was a big part of that. Many people thought Ruben Bain, including me, thought that he was going to be a top 2 or 3 draft pick for a long time, up until the fact that it was out there that he had really short arms. Yeah. And so the NFL scouts frown upon players, edge rushers especially, that have short arms. And so,
by the way, when you say short arms, is that like 3 inches below normal or 1.5 inches below normal?
A couple of inches.
Yeah. I don't consider that significant.
I think maybe they need to figure out how to measure the heart.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's why the Bucs are going
to.
That's why the Bucs would benefit. They got him, I think, at the 16th pick, the 15th pick of the draft, all because of that. And so now they get a really good edge rusher and they needed an edge rusher. So now they got, and they also signed the kid from Detroit last year who had double-digit sacks last year. Not a kid. I think he's actually about 30 years old or something like that. So
who's that?
Muhammad. This is a player. Let's see. How old is he? He's 31. Yeah. And he broke out. He basically had never had the season he had until last year. And so he wound up getting a contract with Tampa. And they also drafted Josiah Trotter in the 2nd round. He's going to replace David, who's gone. And they signed Alex Anzalone from Detroit to replace Levante David. So they did a good job of adding linebackers through free agency in the draft. They did a good job with Bain in the 1st round. They also added a very good value player, Keontae Scott, in the secondary. The secondary lost their number 1 corner. He went free agency. He's gone. So that's a significant loss. But overall, they have young corners, though, that are developing and will hopefully be able to take that next step as far as their development. I think when we were comparing just even from the Saints point of view, at least Tampa Bay had a lot more that they were able to go out and spend and draft on talent that the Saints were not able to.
No.
And maybe that's a big reason why Tampa Bay right now is considered the favorite to win the South.
Yeah, 8.5.
Yeah, they're plus 160. Let's go ahead and check out the division totals for the South. And Tampa Bay is in first place, plus 160. And then you got the Saints in 2nd, Panthers, and the Falcons.
Well, for me, I mean, if it's the time for us to pick.
Yeah, sure. Let's do it.
I'm gonna go with Tampa, Carolina, Atlanta, and then the Saints.
Carolina, Atlanta, and the Saints. Okay. Andy?
I'm sorry. Who did Jim have? He had
Jim went Tampa Bay, Carolina, Atlanta, and the Saints.
Okay. And I will go with, as I mentioned before, I like the Saints. I like Carolina. Tampa Bay, then Atlanta.
All right. So now, are you guys gonna buy or sell on Atlanta?
How about you, Greg?
Oh, I'm going with Carolina, Tampa Bay second, New Orleans, and Atlanta.
Okay.
So
we're gonna buy who we're buying and who we're selling.
Yeah, who we're gonna buy and sell. We'll go alphabetical.
Now, I was going to say, would that tend to be like which is the team of the four most likely to exceed its season wins?
No, just individual. This is now just individual, team by team. That's it.
Well,
Has nothing to do with the rest of the other teams.
I'm buying Tampa Bay. I mean, I felt that they had the right mix last year. I think they've improved in certain areas, and I'm looking for a big improvement on the injury luck. They had no injury luck last year, and I think Baker is the only proven quarterback that we have in this four. The other three teams, as far as I'm concerned, do not have proven winning quarterbacks.
True.
Now, I do say there's some potential there.
Mm-hmm.
I think Carolina has potential. Saints have potential with their quarterbacks, but they haven't done it. Tampa Bay has done it, and they've won this division several times. They didn't lose the division last year. They tied the division. So if you look back, they really haven't lost the division in like 4 years.
Yeah.
So I'm going to stick with Tampa Bay. I'm buying.
And so it's the only team that you'll buy in the division?
Well, the team
I thought you wanted one buy and one sell.
No, you can have many as you want. That's why I said it's all individual. No more.
I think there's one team in here that has the potential because of the ownership, the coach, the assistant coach. I just don't know if they have a quarterback that can deliver, and that would be the Falcons. I just don't know if their quarterback can deliver.
Well, that's the thing about the NFL is that, we know,
is that a plus or a minus on Atlanta for Jim?
Well, as far as I'm buying them, I'm going to make a bet on them because
that's what I wanted to buy. Okay,
I feel Tampa Bay is going to win the division.
So you're also going to buy Atlanta?
Yes.
Okay. And what about
Carolina? If I need to sell somebody, it's going to be the Saints.
Okay.
Oh, you don't have to sell anybody. It's up to you. So you're not forced into selling or buying anybody.
I want to balance my action,
Okay. Sounds good.
Just
all right. Well, tell me so when you are buying, let's just go through each team because I want to get these questions out for each team. So Atlanta, Jim's buying Atlanta. Is there anything specific you're buying about them?
Specifically the ownership and the head coach.
Okay, so no specific number. You're not buying the win totals. You're not buying the division. You're just buying them as you think they're going to exceed expectations.
If I was going to want to be specific, it would be the Atlanta win total.
You would do that. You would buy that at 6.5 over.
Yes.
Okay, got it. All right, Andy, are you buying or selling Atlanta?
I'm a little indecisive on it.
Or not doing anything. You don't have to buy or sell.
I'm not going to do anything with Atlanta. They're 6.5. I originally marked down over 6.5, but I like to go by win totals. As far as win totals are quote unquote expectations, and will teams exceed or fall short of those expectations? Okay, so I think Atlanta is somewhere between a 6 and 8 win team, which is not enough for me to feel comfortable either way. I think I just have so much respect for the coach that he can get a lot out of the talent that I think is better than a team that went 8-9 last year, that went 8-9 the year before, and 7-10 the 3 years before that. That's 5 years of close but not at 500, and I think the talent has been there all those years. I am concerned about the quarterback, but I'm going to end up passing on that one, though I would tend to be more positive than negative that they will be improved. But once again, I don't know if it'll show up in a win-loss record. That's Atlanta. Okay?
And again, look, it's May, and maybe when we make our final observations in August after we see the entire preseason and we see the mini camp, maybe 2 is out there and he's playing lights out. And all of a sudden we're going, well, wait a second, maybe Atlanta's going to be a lot better than we think. Yeah. So we still have a lot of time to figure this out. And this is another reason why the NFL is so popular, because each division, just about 90% of the divisions can have one of these teams like Atlanta that just goes out and exceeds expectations.
Yeah.
And you could see that there's reasons why they could do that. So that's why it's so fun doing this, because you never know who those teams are going to be.
Yeah,
right.
I one of the things I look at, I'll go through all 4 teams, but I do also take a look. I said season win totals for expectation. I also take a look at it on a more of a week by week basis, and that's the point spread record. Well, look at the teams last year. Carolina 11-7 had the best point spread record in the division. Next was New Orleans at 9-8. Next was Atlanta at 8-9, and the team that Jim likes a lot, and I'm going against him on this one, but that doesn't mean that that I'm going to be right and he's going to be and that he's going to be wrong, or vice versa. Tampa Bay, after 2 years of 12-7 against the spread and 10-8 against the spread, they were 5-12 against the spread last year. And remember, they got off to that quick start. They started, I think, 4-0 for like the first time in franchise history, and then went down. So I think that the point spread record is often an indicator of a team that may continue to show decline that was not reflected in the straight up record. In other words, their point spread record was 3 games worse than the win-loss record. So I'm down on Tampa Bay, but I
we're
respect
still on Atlanta.
Yeah. No, I said Atlanta. I'm passing on right now.
Okay, so then let's go next to Carolina.
Oh, okay,
So,
okay.
Yeah, I was doing one team by team.
Point spread records. Yeah,
team by team.
Carolina, I'm buying Carolina for a lot of
Okay.
the reasons you like, and again, the fact that they stepped up in class when they had to, and they played well when they needed to, and they had that tiebreaker result in getting the division title. So I like a lot of the moves they made, but I also like a lot of the improvement in Bryce Young that I mentioned under the head coach Canales, and they showed a lot late in the season. They had a lot on the line, but it was because they were a mediocre team. So yeah, I'm up on Carolina and I'm up on New Orleans. I like the way New Orleans ended the season.
Yeah, we're not into New Orleans yet.
Okay.
So anything specific you're buying about Carolina?
No,
Win
I just mentioned the
totals?
improvement. No, I'm just as far as making any wagers right now.
Yes.
Haven't decided yet, but
Okay.
I do have an up arrow, meaning that I think they will go at least 8-10, and possibly I think their ceiling is 10 wins.
Okay. And again, as my viewers know from previous shows, I mean, I'm buying Carolina across the board. I'm buying them as a Super Bowl 80-1 pick, which I think is a complete slap in the face. The NFC pick at 40-1. I think they're going to be a playoff team, and they're going to definitely be a team that's going to be there at the end. So I think this is going to be my bargain of the entire offseason is Carolina. Okay. Jim, what do you think about Carolina? You buying, selling,
by the way,
not doing anything?
I want to mention one thing, and it's like a yes and a no. Obviously, you live in Carolina, so some people might think, and I don't agree with that it's a homer. On the other hand, and this is the way I think, living in Carolina, you have a very good opportunity to get information that most of the nation outside of Carolina does not have, because that's the focus of the media region you live in. So you probably know a lot more about Carolina than other people. That doesn't mean about the rest of the division, because obviously it holds true for people who live in Atlanta, New Orleans, and Tampa Bay. But your knowledge of Carolina, combined with the way they played, throughout a good part of last year, suggests that your opinion is an opinion to be respected.
Well, first of all, it's a big state, and I'm on the exact opposite side of the state as Carolina. And secondly,
but Charlotte is the media capital and the capital of the state.
And secondly, I guess that would have been more so like 15, 20 years ago. But with technology today, man, I haven't watched a local broadcast in probably 30 years. So anywhere I've lived. In that case, I enjoy your pick of Carolina to win the division. Okay. Jim, what do you think about Carolina?
I think they had their year last year. They were 8-9. They did not have a winning record. I think they were getting a little carried away. Yeah. I think Tampa's got a better roster. I like the quarterback better. I do like a lot about Carolina. I really do, but I'm selling them.
Sell. Okay.
Well, let me tell you the other thing about Carolina, since you brought up the question. I mentioned Bryce Young. I also like the fact that Canales took over a 2-15 team, went to 5-12, went to 8-9 last year. he's now even that much more familiar with the organization and the roster that he has. So, I like to see coaches who show improvement with a team that he took over that was really bad, and 2-15 qualifies as really bad.
Is that sell anything? Are you going under the win total, or are you just selling on them having a year that you're just not going to back them?
You're talking to Jim?
You're talking to me.
Yes. Are you going to go with the under on the win total, or no?
What is the over and under? 8.5, 9.5?
7.5.
7.5.
Well, they had 8 last year.
Exactly.
No, it's. I know they beat Tampa twice. I mean, that's not going to happen again. I don't believe. But
okay, so no, you're not gonna go under. You're just selling them.
I'm going to bet that Carolina does not win the division.
Okay, well, you got them at second. All right, New Orleans, Andy, this is your team to win the division.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming you're buying them. Anything specific? You're going to buy them to win the division, the win totals. What else do you like about them?
I like about the fact that they made a positive quarterback change in the regular season, and they stuck with it. And basically, Shook proved himself. He was drafted last year out of Louisville, correct? It was last year's draft. Yeah. So he was a rookie, wasn't given a chance early. He was a starter because of, I guess, necessity. And he proved his worth. They played nicely. They were 6-11. That was still an improvement over the 5-12 season that caused the coaching change, because they had come off a 9-8 season before that. So they had declined, and they showed a small improvement. I like the way that they played down the stretch. I like a number of the moves they made during the offseason. I will be on them to go over their total win, which I expect to, as I said, I like them to win the division. And it might be this year that we could see Carolina and New Orleans all tie for the division title, but it may be with 10 wins this year instead of 8 wins last year.
Agreed. Okay, so going over the win total for the Saints and picking them to win the division. Jim, I'm assuming this is going to even up your buying and selling, which you want to make sure that you have a 50-50 split. So I assume you're selling on the Saints?
Oh, definitely. Absolutely. Way too much hype on them. I don't see the improvement. And I do feel that Tampa Bay and Carolina will be better than this year than they were last year. Even though I'm picking Tampa to win, Carolina comes second. And I also think the Falcons will be improved. So I think they're going to have some losses there within the division, and totally very, very limited experience with Shuck at quarterback. No, I'm selling.
Okay, so we got two of our handicappers on a complete different side of the spectrum. Jim fourth and selling, Andy first and buying. Again, I have them in third. I'm not going to do anything like at this point. I'm not going to under them right now. I guess if I had to, I'd probably go over, to tell you the truth. But still, 7, I wouldn't be surprised. So that's why I'm staying away.
See, I think overall it's really difficult, regardless of what I think of these 4 teams. It's hard to go under. It's hard to make a case for the under because the numbers are all so low.
I know they are. I'm telling you, I think
8.5 for a team that tied for the division last year. Most division winners have double digits and sometimes 12, 13, 14.
Well, last year in this league they had 8.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why
it could happen again.
No, I think we all know that these teams are all gonna be better.
Well, if Carolina and Tampa Bay improve by the odds that they have here, I don't see the Saints being second at all. I think that's bogus to me. I don't understand it, but I think no. Last year, how many teams had less than 6 wins in the NFL?
I don't think many.
Out of the 32 teams.
Maybe 8, 7, 6.
No, it had to be more than that.
Yeah, it had to be more.
It had to be more than that.
This is a very top-heavy league.
Saints had 11 losses. They had 6 wins.
6 wins.
Jim, you're talking about the number of wins or losses.
How many teams had less than 6?
Less than 6 wins.
6 wins.
6 wins or less.
Yes.
I would say it's probably that 10? Means 7 or more. I'd say 10 to 12 probably out of the 32.
Okay.
Oh, let me see.
It's a very here.
You had 14. I don't know if there was a 10-win team that did not make the playoffs last year. And you had 14 teams make the playoffs, two of which I believe had fewer than 10 wins. You had the 8 wins with Carolina, and I think you had 8 or 9 with Pittsburgh, I believe.
Yeah, that couldn't have been,
so 12 of them at least had 7
Arizona,
teams. Yeah,
Giants, Washington in the NFC, Jets, Browns, Titans, and Raiders in the AFC.
Okay, 7 had 6 or fewer than 6?
Fewer than 6. Fewer than 6.
Okay, well, the question was 6 or fewer.
How many had exactly? How many had 7?
If you had 6 or fewer, then you've got the Chiefs at 6.
Right.
You've got the Bengals at 6.
Right. Saints.
And the Saints.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got 10 teams out of the 32 teams that had 6 or fewer wins.
How many had 10 or more? Was it 12?
10 or more.
Because it almost looks like it's about a third, and a third.
3, 4, 5 in the NFC. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in the AFC.
Okay.
So that's 12 out of the 14. Yeah. Okay. So you had 12. You had 10 at 7 or less. So you must have had 10 or at 6 or less. So you must have had 10 teams between 7, 8, and 9.
You got to remember, we have very, very unproven quarterback play in this league. We've had a very tough time in the last 3 or 4 years getting quality quarterbacking, and then offensive coordinating and the coaches. Look at the number of coaching changes we have. I mean, that doesn't mean they're doing well. They're doing badly. And the offensive coordinator situation, there's so much. And then you have situations where you have a good coordinator getting the head coaching job somewhere else, leaving a hole and a gap for somebody coming in.
And starting over with the quarterback.
So you're creating all these holes everywhere. And it's very difficult. There are some good teams. Every time you say this team's going to win 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 games, there's some bad teams down there that are going to pay the price for that. So, and these 4 teams right here are all.
I haven't updated it for this year, but people would be very surprised, and maybe it is surprising. How many people, Greg, do you still have that chart?
The standings?
Yeah.
Yes.
How many teams won 5 or less? That must have been the 7 that you mentioned.
Oh, yeah, because remember, it was 7.
That's almost a quarter of the league. 8 would be a quarter of the league. Couldn't win more than 5 games out of a 17-game schedule. And those numbers were also surprisingly high if you went back to the 16-game schedule. The number of teams that were really bad each season. I mean, for a quarter of the league to be that bad, that's winning less than a third of your games.
There's not parity in this league.
No.
There is not.
No.
Well, I mean,
and I think a lot of that has to do not with the talent, but with the organization, like Jim Stutton.
You also will see now. You're going to also see some more 13 personnel on offense because it's very difficult to create an offensive line with just linemen. They're going to bring a lot of. There was a high number of
3 tight ends
of tight ends drafted because you need to start filling holes. And the tight ends have to do more things. They have to open holes for the running backs. They got to be able to catch the ball. They be able to block because the offensive lines overall are not that good. So
and injury prone.
And injury prone. So I think there were 22 tight ends drafted, which is like a record.
Keep in mind, let's look at offensive line and defensive line. Now, obviously, injuries there are important, but they're more significant to the offensive line because the defensive line doesn't have the rules of the offensive line where they can't move before the snap. So if you're constantly filling holes on the offensive line with different combinations, it's much more difficult to be able to simultaneously time your snap top because you're looking at the signals of the guy to the left and the right of you. The defense doesn't have to worry about that. So I think it's easier to patch up a defense when there are, let's say, even cluster injuries than it is an offensive line.
Correct. I agree.
All right, let's wrap up with Tampa Bay. So, Andy, you have Tampa Bay in third. Are you buying, selling, or neither?
I am selling to the extent that that 5-12 record is a cause of concern when you look at a team that had won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 straight division titles, and including playoffs, had won, I think, 15, 14, 8, 10, 10, and dropped to 8. To me, that's a sign of a team in decline because they failed to meet expectations in the 12 games that they failed to cover the point spread, meeting or exceeding expectations in the 5 games that they did. So that's what makes Kansas City an interesting team this year, because their record in close games in 2024, even though they went to the Super Bowl, was horrible against the point spreads and in close games. And then that decline showed up, last year when they were 6-11. Now remember, Pat Mahomes played most of those 17 games. I think he missed 2 or 3 at most. So that was a team that had started to show signs of decline in its play from 2024 to 2025, or 2023 to 2024. And then they showed it in the results in 2025. I may be a little concerned that Tampa Bay may be in a similar situation this year.
Okay. So are you doing anything else? You going under the win total or nothing like that?
Haven't decided on the win total yet. My first inclination was to look under the 8.5 because it coordinates with the decline, but I've not done my full schedule analysis yet.
Okay.
But I do think, because I do have them fourth in the division, that some of their losses will come to division teams, of the 6 division games they played that they might have won last year.
You had third. Do you want Tampa Bay third or fourth?
I'm sorry, third. Yeah, no, I want them third. Yeah.
Jim, you've got Tampa Bay number 1. I guess this is a buy for you. So anything specific about the buy? Win totals, division?
They basically have a lot of the same ingredients they had a year ago, but they had some of the worst luck at the injury level. I mean, they were playing 1, 2, or 3 offensive linemen out. Baker got banged up a lot. Evans was out. They had running back issues because of that.
I think Godwin missed a lot of time too, didn't he, Greg?
Pardon?
Yeah, he did.
Godwin last year till the end. The other receiver,
yes, he did.
Was Evans.
So, I mean, if we can have any kind of injury luck this year, I think Tampa Bay's far better team. Now, I do think Carolina's catching up. I like some of what they're doing, but they're going to have. I still have questions about Bryce Young. He still is on the shorter side, and that has not worked well in the NFL over a long period of time. So we'll see.
Anything yet with Tampa Bay regarding like what you did last year as far as conference, Super Bowl, anything like that?
Tampa Bay wins the division. They get into the playoffs. And I think the NFL is a little bit stronger, so I'm not going to go beyond that.
Okay.
See, I wouldn't mind if I was going to make plays to win the division. I normally don't like to make 2 plays in the division, but New Orleans and Carolina seem to be attractively priced. I would not rule out Tampa Bay, but I think the plus 160 in a division that for the last few years has been so tightly balanced on the mediocre part of balance, to have a team that much of a favorite, plus 160, and what's the other one, plus 240 and then 320 or something like that. That's a big gap between the first and second place team for teams that had 8 wins, and 6 wins last year.
Okay, and I'm buying Tampa Bay again. My second place team. I definitely think they're going to be a winning team this year. That's all you have to do to win that 9. And when you're 8.5, are you a winning team or not? And I think Tampa Bay will be a winning team this year. So I'm going to buy Tampa Bay with that over 8.5. Okay, so there you go. That is.
By the way, I'm not against making 2 plays on a team in a division, but when you take a look at the NFC South, and that's why I'm not committing myself to playing both New Orleans and Carolina to win the division, is that based upon recent history, it's hard to see a second team coming out of this division as a wild card.
Yeah, I mean, that's why, we've got 8 weeks. We won't be done with the NFC. Let's see, when will we be done with the NFC?
A month from now, we'll start. Yeah,
be done.
3 more weeks.
3 more weeks.
The 10th of July, we'll be done with the NFC. The AFC will be our last division. That'll be on the 17th of July. Next week, it's the AFC.
Okay. We're doing NFC, AFC, NFC, AFC alternating.
Yep. Next week is the AFC East. So we will talk about the defending AFC champion.
By the way, is there any reason for the order you chose? And I'll tell you why after you answer the question.
No.
Okay. What I was thinking we might want to do, and I don't know how much we're going to get into the analysis of the individual schedules, but you might want to see if there are situations where the divisions play the same two divisions in the opposite conference, like AFC South versus NFC South, and AFC West versus NFC West, AFC West or vice versa.
For what reason?
Because we will have spoken about these teams as far as who their common opponents are. We didn't go schedule by schedule. We'll probably do more of that when we do our follow up on after the 8 weeks. It doesn't matter. It's just easier taking a look at thinking about it when we're looking at
the AFC North next week.
Okay.
Again, the two divisions, not just one. So they get the NFC North and the AFC North.
Right.
So we can do the AFC North next week.
Okay.
And then we'll move on. So we can do the NFC North the week after that.
Okay. Well, notice what I'm saying. Who does Atlanta play? Which division?
AFC North and NFC North.
Okay, yeah. So we could do the NFC North next week. Yeah.
No, AFC North.
AFC North next week. Yeah.
Yeah, and then we could do the NFC North, or I guess I don't know who the AFC North is playing. They've got two divisions, but we can make that decision next week. But NFC North could be the one we do after that. Okay,
so next week we're going to do.
Yeah, we could do the AFC North. I mean, the only thing is that are we going to run out of? Is this not going to work after 3 weeks? You know what I'm saying?
It may not.
If we keep it the same divisions, sooner they're going to run out.
Okay.
We'll think about it.
Because there's also something to be said about doing all 4 divisions in one conference first, since we all have previously talked and built upon.
Well, I don't want to. Just in case, though, I'd rather not be one conference and wait. Everybody who's AFC fans, have them wait a month before we start talking about the AFC. That's all.
Let's do an AFC one next week.
Yeah, that's all.
Okay.
I'd rather do it your way, Andy, like that. But I just, in case there's an AFC fans. Yeah. So
AFC North next week.
Yeah, we can do the AFC North next week.
Good deal.
And,
I got to run, guys.
Got to wrap it up. All right, guys.
Thanks,
Have
Jim.
a good weekend, Jim. Have a good week to all of our listeners and viewers.
Yes. And
back at it next week.
I'll see you guys again next Friday.
Sounds good.
Sounds great.
All right. Take care. So that's Andy Iskoe and Jim Feist over at ProLine TV. We have links in the description of this video. You can check out all of their work on TheLogicalApproach.com, JimFeist.com. Their social media access as well. Don't forget, you can check out how to order the Our Lads Draft Review Guide. That's in the description of the video. Lots of nice links for you to check out, including, of course, keeping in mind that our upcoming schedule regarding interviews before we talk the AFC North next week is going to be NFL. I've got 5 interviews next week. We're going to talk Packers on Monday, Eagles on Tuesday night, Saints and Titans on Wednesday, and Las Vegas on Thursday. So that's our schedule for the NFL next week as far as interviews. And then in college football right now, just one interview I have lined up. So hopefully I'll be able to add some more next week. Vanderbilt. That's right. Chris Lee from Vandy 247 is going to join us on Thursday. I have never had a Vanderbilt interview before, so I'm looking forward to it. They've got a 5-star quarterback taking over the program for Diego Pavia. Still a lot of excitement for the Commodores program. So we're going to find out just how good Vanderbilt will be this year without Diego Pavia now moving on. So that's the way things look right now as far as our schedule next week with interviews. And again, every Friday for the next 7 weeks after this, we're going to continue our divisional previews right here on the Our Lads Football Network. Also, Playbook ATS podcast. That's what we're doing here with the partners over at ProLine TV on these Friday shows. Anything you want to know about Playbook ATS podcast, of course, you can check out the links, as well as don't forget, we will be publicizing as we get closer and closer to Mark Lawrence from Playbook ATS, the official football guide. And this is the one from last year. And here you go. So this is the guide from last year. This is over 30 years. I think it's 34 years. I can't remember. Anyway, a long time. Let's just put it that way. I said 36 years. That would have been something, huh? But anyway, a very, very important handicapping tool right here. Mark Lawrence's playbook that comes out in about another 6 weeks or so, something like that, eight weeks, in that range. But we'll talk more about that the closer we get for when the publication is going to be available. And we'll let you know exactly where you can go purchase it. We'll have links in the description of this video as well. So have a great weekend, everybody. Thanks for tuning in here to the Our Football Network. And if you want to tune in to more ProLine TV content, I will be doing a show tomorrow, probably tomorrow night, NASCAR coverage every Saturday after qualifying and practice. So I'll be doing that tomorrow night on ProLine TV. I will also be previewing a big event in golf on the PGA Tour on Monday. That's my goal on Monday night because they're going to be at the Memorial next week. And all the top players in the world get together. It's a signature event, again, over on ProLine TV. You could also check out Andy Iskoe and Jim Feist on Jim Feist's handicapping show, which is every Tuesday at 1 o'clock Eastern time. And at this time of year, a lot of NBA playoff talk, especially with the NBA Finals upon us here. Game 7, of course, coming up in the Western Conference. And then we'll find out who will take on the New York Knicks in the NBA Finals. So if you're into the NBA, you can check out that show every Tuesday at 1 o'clock. They'll be talking a lot about the NBA Finals for the next several weeks over at ProLine TV. Okay, have a great weekend, everybody. Appreciate it. And again, hope you enjoyed the content. If you have any questions, debates, likes, dislikes regarding our opinions on these 4 NFC South teams, please let us know in the comments section. And don't forget also to subscribe here at the Our Football Network. And if you do that, as I've said many times before, you are going to learn more about the 2026 NFL and college football season than anywhere else on a daily basis. So that's going to wrap it up. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you guys again on Monday.